There comes a point in life when you realize you don't need to argue anymore. You don't need to defend yourself to those who never truly listened. You don't need to waste your breath proving your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not defeat. Silence, when rooted in self-respect, is one of the loudest, most unshakable statements you will ever make. Today, we're diving into why silence is the language of strength, and how it can transform your relationships, your confidence, and your life. There is a kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure. The exhaustion of being entangled in needless conflict, of constantly defending your existence to those who will never truly see you. Every word spoken in desperation to be understood is a little piece of your energy spent, a little of your essence given away. When you engage in arguments that lead nowhere, you surrender the most precious currency you have, your life force. There are those who live in a perpetual storm of chaos, who thrive on the adrenaline of provocation. To them, every reaction you give is a form of sustenance. But when you meet their fire with stillness, when you offer them no spark to ignite, you begin to protect the sanctity of your own inner world. Silence becomes not an absence of response, but an active, intentional choice to keep your energy whole. It is the invisible fortress that shields you from the turbulence of others' unresolved chaos. In this silence, you are not disengaging from life. You are disengaging from what diminishes you. It is a quiet refusal to be pulled into the whirlpool of someone else's emotional instability. And this quiet, this sacred pause, becomes the very space in which your soul begins to breathe again. Silence has a peculiar gravity to it, an unseen weight that draws the attention of those around you. When you refrain from explaining, from defending, from justifying, you communicate something profound, that your worth is not up for debate. Words, when overused, become diluted, but silence condenses meaning into something undeniable. Those who once tried to provoke you into reaction will begin to feel the strange discomfort of their own powerlessness. For control thrives on predictability, on knowing how to pull the strings of your emotions. But when you remove the strings, when you no longer dance to the pull of their expectations, you reclaim a kind of authority that cannot be stolen. Respect is rarely earned by shouting the loudest. It is often born from the quiet refusal to participate in the games that others play. The paradox of silence is that, though it is empty of sound, it is full of presence. Your stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting back to others the truth they cannot escape. And in that mirror, they may see themselves more clearly than they ever could through your words. The dignity in this kind of silence is unmistakable. It is the language of those who have nothing to prove because they already know who they are. Boundaries are not walls to keep the world out. They are the sacred lines that preserve the integrity of your being. To live without them is to allow the noise of others to drown out the whisper of your own soul. Boundaries are born from self-respect. They are the quiet recognition that not every demand on your time, your heart, or your mind deserves a response. Silence, in this context, becomes the guardian of those boundaries. It is the unspoken signal that says, I know my limits, and I will not be moved by pressure or persuasion. There is no malice in this kind of silence. It is not meant to punish, but to protect. Just as a tree does not apologize for the space it occupies, you too have the right to claim the space necessary for your growth. And when others test those boundaries, pushing, prying, insisting, you learn that you do not need to explain the architecture of your choices. Your silence itself is the affirmation that your decisions are not subject to negotiation. In a world that constantly demands justification, there is a rare and powerful beauty in simply not offering it. Silence is not always an absence of communication. It is often the purest form of it. There is an entire language contained within stillness, a language older than words, more honest than explanations. You can speak volumes without uttering a single syllable, because silence carries with it a weight that words often cannot bear. It conveys certainty without aggression, peace without passivity. It tells others that you will not be drawn into needless conflict, that you will not dilute your truth by casting it into the chaos of another's misunderstanding. In this way, Silence is the art of holding your truth so close to your heart that it cannot be twisted or taken. And yet, this kind of communication requires a deep trust in yourself. It asks you to release the need for immediate validation, to let go of the compulsion to have your truth acknowledged by those who may never be ready to hear it. In the silence, you stand in the raw clarity of your own knowing, and you allow others the space to reveal themselves by how they respond to it. Some will grow uncomfortable in its presence, for silence reflects the hollowness of empty noise. Others will lean into it, sensing its depth, its authenticity. In either case, you will have spoken the most profound truth of all, that your self-worth does not depend on the sound of your own defense, but on the unshakable stillness of your being. Silence is a mirror, and in its still surface, the soul finds no escape from itself. When you withdraw from the constant hum of conversation, distraction, and noise, you are left face to face with the unfiltered truth of your own being. This is why many fear silence, because it strips away the comforting illusions we wrap around our lives. In the absence of noise, the hidden parts of the psyche rise to the surface. Regrets long buried, desires denied, fears unspoken. They emerge in the quiet like shadows in moonlight. And yet, this confrontation is not a cruelty. It is a necessity. For only in meeting these shadows can you integrate them into the wholeness of who you are. In this way, silence becomes the great teacher, not by telling you what to think, but by forcing you to listen to the voice beneath thought, the one that speaks in symbols, dreams, and subtle impulses. It invites you into the deep waters of self-reflection, where you learn that what you have been running from is often the very key to your freedom. The mind, like a turbulent river, must sometimes be stilled before you can see the stones at its bed. When silence opens that stillness, it does not leave you empty. It fills you with the undeniable truth of your own existence. And in relationships, silence reveals the unspoken contracts that words so often disguise. It shows you whether the bond between two people is nourished by mutual respect or merely sustained by habitual noise. When the talking stops, what remains between you? Is it connection, or is it emptiness disguised as companionship? In this way, silence becomes a test of authenticity, stripping away the superficial layers until only truth remains. In moments of conflict, to remain silent is not always an act of retreat. It can be an assertion of sovereignty over your inner state. When you choose not to react, not to be baited into arguments that serve no higher purpose, you are declaring that your peace is not up for barter. This is the silence of strength, a refusal to feed the cycles of pettiness or emotional dependency. It is not passive. It is the active guarding of your own spirit. And here lies the paradox. True connection often deepens when it can withstand silence. For if two souls can sit together without the compulsion to fill the air, it means they have entered a realm beyond performance and pretense. There is a profound intimacy in shared quiet, an understanding that the deepest parts of us speak in a language beyond words, and only those who have learned to listen will ever hear it. There comes a point in every life where one must recognize that silence is not merely the absence of words, but the shaping of them. It is the crucible in which intention is purified before it takes form. So many speak before they have truly listened, to themselves, to others, to the quiet undercurrents of a situation. But when you dwell in silence, you allow meaning to mature. Like a seed beneath the earth, thought needs darkness before it can rise toward the light. In this way, silence guards you from the impulsive reactions that betray your deeper self. It gives you the gift of pause, where you can sift through the layers of emotion and discover what is truly worth expressing. Those who master this art do not speak to fill space. They speak when their words can alter the very atmosphere in which they are uttered. This restraint is not suppression. It is refinement. For what is unsaid often carries more weight than what is spoken, and a well-timed silence can dismantle illusions more powerfully than 100 arguments. And yet, silence is not meant to be a prison. It is a sanctuary you can step into at will, but one from which you also emerge transformed. The great task is learning when to leave it and let your voice carry the truth it has been nurturing. A truth born of silence carries a vibration that others can feel. It is rooted, deliberate, and free from the vanity of persuasion. People sense it not only in your words, but in your presence. It is the quiet authority of one who has walked through the depths of their own psyche and returned with something real. In moments where the world demands you explain yourself, justify yourself, or prove your worth, silence becomes your testament. It says without saying, "I know who I am," and that knowing is unshakable. But when the time comes to speak, to defend the vulnerable, to express love, to declare boundaries, those words, sharpened by stillness, become arrows that fly straight to the heart. The balance lies here. To neither be enslaved by the compulsion to speak, nor imprisoned by the fear of it. For life asks us to know both the value of silence and the rightness of speech. Silence may be the language of the soul, but speech is the bridge between souls, and only when it rises from the well of quiet can it truly serve as a vessel for truth. If you've been exhausting yourself trying to be heard, maybe it's time to understand this. The right people will hear you, even in your silence. So let your quiet confidence speak for you. Let your actions set the tone, and let your self-worth be the volume that needs no words. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Has silence ever spoken for you more powerfully than words? Share your story in the comments. If this message resonated, give this video a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more content like this. And before you go, tell me, what topic should we explore next? Your voice matters here.